It just dawned on me we have our own music. You realize that?
After almost 4 years?
Yeah, it kind of dawned. It's a dawn.
Didn't you choose it?
No, the producers did it, and then I said okay.
My family likes that.
Yeah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here along with Rogan, and I would just say this, Jemima Smith.
Kendrick looked at me, right? Like, what is he talking about? Then he thought, and then he just was like, laughing.
Anyway.
Kendrick, don't support this idiot.
How are you doing? By the way, you see the KFC commercial with Miss Butterick?
No.
They kiss. Because apparently now KFC serves, I don't know about if it reached Nassau yet, chicken and waffles.
Oh, that's
so it's KFC meet Miss Butterick. Butterworth. Butterick is the sewing thing. The patents. Do you know about patents?
Oh my God. Yes, I do.
And simplicity?
My simplicity. How your mommy used to do that, me?
I can tell you that.
You can't sew nothing. That's your mom used to do that. Why don't come hem this
Do you know how to
for me?
base? Do you know how to base a hem?
No.
Oh, okay. You don't know how to base a hem?
No, I don't. I just said no.
Okay, there's no need, Jemima, to have that attitude with me.
He has a tendency. He loves to repeat stuff, but there. I already answered.
You just said when I said I could sew. You lie. I mean, it's just a thing of emphasis on the wrong syllable. So listen.
You remember patterns.
So basting is when you're about to hem your pants or something, and you just do a quick, thick, big stitch to keep it in place.
I do that, but I didn't know that's what
you
called.
But you know the name.
I didn't know what you call it.
Because you're not a seamstress.
No, I'm not a seamstress.
No, I'm a seamster.
You're not even that.
Yes, I am.
I do that with my pants. I didn't know that's what it's called.
Okay, no problem.
Just do it.
All right, no problem. You know how to fix the bobbin?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Remember my Grammy and my aunt used to sew. Like my aunt used to sew extremely well. But I remember all that.
It's freaking you out that I know about bobbin.
Listen, but but you're taking me down memory lane.
Memory lane.
We used to go to, remember G.R.
Sweeting,
was
Simplicity
around.
and Butterick. Yeah. That's why I mixed with Rick.
Oh my God, patterns.
Because Rick is so much in my mind, ingrained in my mind as a seamster.
Do they still sell patterns?
I don't think so. I don't think
that gone the way.
I mean, I think you could still get them, but see, so you would go. Listen. Let me tell you something. Seriously, I sewed a lot. My aunt was a seamstress, and as a result, I learned how to sew. And because I would have to be doing things for her, different pieces while she's okay. And I once made me a pair of jeans. I made jeans myself, and it didn't work out that well because the very hard part to sew is the crotch. Oh. It's a very difficult, thing to make everything match up. Not for women. Women is a little easier, but men with the zipper and it's just kind of weird. But anyway, I sewed the jeans. It didn't come out that good, but I wore them for many years. But yeah, I was the seamster.
Man, that was
Butterick and Simplicity. Yeah, Fields boy, that Fields boy is a melt. You realize that's what people are saying, right?
No, they ain't saying that. They say he's a liar. You really took me down the road.
Kendrick, how do you lie about Simplicity and Butterick if you're a liar?
You remember your mommy them doing it. Oh my God, my grandma used to ask me to always put the thread in the needle because she could never see through. She always called me to do that. I said, love that.
But so you know how to do the bobbin then? You know how to thread the bobbin?
Yes, sir. I just answered that question.
Hey, you know what my favorite part was actually not where you do the needle, but when you put the thread on the bobbin.
Thread?
The thread. Well, you know how to say thread.
That's right.
Yeah, because that's how you go. But I'm a seamster, and I say thread. So having said that, there's another subject. So I'm happy to go down memory lane with many of you in the car.
The bad thoughts that I had, when I was coming in here.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, mildly.
But I mean, you have some now nostalgia about, because the thing about nostalgia, it's good and bad. Like when I think about things that, like certain records and certain things, what brings me back in time,
right?
I get very emotional because I think, why do you think, I'm going to see what you think. Why do you think I get emotional?
Because it jogs your memory about the people who were here with you when things transpired and they're no longer here with you. That's kind of it,
but mine, I think it's because
a simpler time is gone, and I don't know.
But I think it's, first of all, you were young, you had your life ahead of you. Now, that's gone.
You don't have your life ahead of you.
Time. You ran out of time. You got life ahead of you. You got about 20, 30, as opposed to 50, 60.
Yeah, the majority of your life is behind you.
Yeah. You say that with such calm and Reserve. On another note, I'm going to see if you acknowledge this. And I'm not saying that I'm the only one who would have thought this, but, we had discussions about the Facebook several years ago. And I remember coming and saying how, there's going to be a shift. And there will be some censorship. You remember when I said that?
Facebook has already begun doing that.
They saying this hate speech thing. And just think about that. How much nicer of a space it would be if you could just control civility. You don't want to control your thought process and disagreement and opinion, but there's no need for me to say, if Roseanne Smith say she doesn't like bottled water, there's no need for me to say, well, you know what's wrong? She just stink anyhow. That's why she ain't like it. Why do I need to say that? Why not just say, well, I think she's wrong about the bottled water?
No, I mean, that's oversimplifying what it is. You know what I'm saying. But I don't have a problem with it, but I do think it presents a slippery slope. And I think this will be just the start of it, because something that you think is just so benign in the future, maybe 5 years from now, won't be so benign.
But can I ask you a question, Rogan
People
Smith?
are easily triggered by sometimes the most innocent things.
But can I ask you a thing, Rogan Smith? The slippery slope, does that go both ways?
Yes, it does. It does. But I'm just simply, you asked me about, you got
your boy from Antigua.
Yeah.
He got the mustache. He decided that's what. By the way, he's married to a 20-something-year-old.
Okay, good for him.
Good for
I
him.
ain't mad at him. This is one life. I ain't judging him. For all the men out there who's 70 and 80, if they want a 20-something-year-old woman, go for yourself.
Another non-related
and vice versa.
Another non-related thing. Are you having a relationship with Colonel Sanders?
Why, you saw Kentucky in my car again?
No, because of the Jemima thing.
What?
Miss Butterwhite.
What?
They have the
You're such an. I have to say, because you saw the KFC box.
I can't get it. These styles, I love it. You didn't want to do a little tie.
This is
What
you
do you
see
call
the
that?
silver thing?
Yeah, what you call that? What you call the whole thing?
It's a
headband?
It's like a headband, a stretchy headband.
Okay, a stretchy headband.
Or, I'll come in with a turban.
Do they have a turbine?
Turban.
See, you correct me on tread.
But turbine
But you don't want me
different.
but turbine, you don't want.
I'm talking about pronunciation versus something that's completely different.
No. You see, you can't have it both ways.
Okay, turbine then, fine.
She goes, turbine then, fine.
All right, turbine.
You can't correct me on the vernacular in one regard, and then you want to have little qualifiers, like one is a what? One is a pronunciation, and one is a what?
Okay, fine, turbine.
Okay, turbine.
Turbine.
Okay.
Man, you're so silly. But yeah, man, look, listen.
How do you feel?
I feel so, for the first time in a very long time, I feel so hopeless, right?
I feel hopeless, okay.
I feel hopeless. And not in a personal capacity. I'm talking about this situation with this 15-year-old boy who was fatally stabbed. Let me tell you something. I very rarely cry for situations like this, and I've told you my story a million times of my brother being murdered.
You have an emotional.
So I'm past
on this.
Some things just trigger. They trigger emotions in me. But to see and to watch his mother tear up, I kind of just get emotional thinking about it. To see her tear up and say she couldn't do anything, and to know that a little girl was there on the scene and begged this person not to kill him.
Was it another kid?
Yes, it was another, a 16-year-old or so.
And throw him away in jail and leave him.
Come on, right?
Because you see, again, no matter when you go down these conversations, what we come to know as being on the radio and being in media, etc., is that you can be quiet and you will have no enemies.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
I don't
you know what I'm saying? But we're not quiet. This is why we're on the show, right? So you say things, and you cannot wordsmith it.
No.
So that there's zero pushback, right?
Yeah.
But this is why I say very clearly that individual, because that was, while maybe not premeditated, was certainly.
He had opportunities to stop.
Yeah. So he decided. First of all, he carried a knife to school.
Right. So you go in there with the intention.
So what you need to do now, and there's the zero pity sphere, is throw him away.
You see what I'm saying?
Throw him away, because why? He might end up doing it again, and then what you can say then? Okay. So he has decided he does not wish to be a part of this society. Okay.
When you hear a situation
That's
where
all.
someone is pleading and saying, please don't do it,
Yeah.
you and your emotions, but please don't do it.
Yeah.
And then this child was attacked previously.
Yeah, he's bullied.
He's
I
been
see bullied. Yeah.
And this is a serious I mean, you heard Candy say this on the show, but we really need to address this situation, man.
Well,
This is.
we were bullied. I was bullied. People were bullied. But you take it to. We're going to take a break. But the question is, first of all, I don't know. Listen, I can't prescribe any solution. The only thing I could say is justice now. At this stage, it's only justice. Right?
Let's take a break and we can talk about it some more because I want to talk about this.
Yeah, Rogan Smith. Listen.
I tell you,
For your relief, first of all, don't be hopeless.
It's hard to.
I know it's hard to, but don't be hopeless.
It's hard to feel.
And secondly, there's only thing. Where's my key? Did I bring my keys in here? I hope I have the rest of my keys. I find my keys on the air.
If you can't find it, drop your.
No, but now I have my key, but I don't have the rest of my keys because I took had my car in for servicing. But anyway, no, there's a thing where as human beings, what we do is you have to, in order to cope, is to cut yourself off. Because let me tell you something. I have the greatest of sorrow for that family.
So do I.
Okay, but you realize, but Rogan Smith, and I'm not justifying anything. I'm not, and I don't want to get emotional. I don't want to dismiss anything. Some serious stuff is going down on a global basis, man.
Go down there, Ken, 'cause you can't hear
it. On a global basis, some serious stuff is going down, man. You think about, you ever watch Game of Thrones?
No, I've never watched an episode. I've heard about it.
So I just started watching this, right? I started watching this, and I'm now, they're doing a lot of reruns because the new season is coming up, right? And some cruel stuff, man. And you think about back in the day, in the medieval days, right, when they didn't have no bowling or any sorts of what I call pressure release, right? All they did was go to war, fight, fornicate, and I shouldn't use that word, but copulate, eat. It's pure survival, and the kind of and because people want to control the level of cruelty that people inflicted on each other to maintain fear. Really, we have really come a long, long way. But but that's what I'm going to say. But our innate primitiveness still allows for this type of stuff to happen. Because when you have that kind of action, this is why you don't like me to get into that word, but this is some primal stuff. And if you, because look, you and I get married. Imagine that you and I have had some serious.
We've had some heated arguments. Yeah.
Has it ever crossed your mind to say, well, you know what? When I come in here tomorrow, let her say something to me. Let her say something to me.
You must be crazy. That type, I believe it lies in all of us. But let me tell you when that would come out of me. In a protective
self-defense.
Mode. If I'm protecting myself or my family,
else.
You better believe it. But in any other capacity, I could walk away from that. And I know it's easier said than done.
No, it's not easier said than done. It's easy to do.
I'm socialized differently. Maybe it's a little different.
But you say so. Well,
and I think about consequences every single day.
Consequences. But see, like the guy told me on Mason's Edition that time, feels so the thing I look forward to is life or is dead or prison.
Right.
So
when is that thought process? That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's inbred early on,
yeah.
Right? Okay. But there's no caring. See, I don't know. There's a definite two-tier society everywhere. There are those that have some degree of hope and see a potential life of experiences and, joy and, whatever. And then there's some people who just go,
I don't know.
No big deal.
I don't know what it's going to take for us to shift this mindset away from bullying, if it's something that's always going to be there. And I don't know what it's going to take for us to protect our children when they are in school. I have relatives who go to public school. They go there to learn. They have a good time. They love their classmates. They love their teachers. I don't want to be thinking about the fact that they may not be coming home tonight. You dropped them off to school this morning and they're not coming home this afternoon. They're in the street dead. I don't want to think about that. I don't want that to happen to any family.
You talk about prevention and solutions, and I try to think about, okay, so generally we know that this is not happening in the private schools, right? Generally.
Yeah.
You know, that if you look at all the scenarios that have happened, it's not really happening in the private school. So, you know, you wonder when you talk about how do we resolve this issue, and you have to wonder what is the connection of this to poverty, right? Because is that degree of hopelessness or not seeing beyond the moment? Okay.
I think poverty, not to cut you, I think poverty is one aspect of it. But I think Pastor Carlos Reed was on the money when he was here. And, you know, he's been on our show several times.
Yeah.
And he said what happens is you have individuals who are from warring, and I'm not saying that to be the case in this instance, but they're from warring factions. They're from different areas, and there are different codes in those areas. And then you put those individuals in the same school setting, and you know, it's havoc.
But to go back to my assertion, the reason why those gangs exist is because of certain socioeconomic, and I focus on the word socio, and where these folks don't have a support base, so they join these type of scenarios that welcome them. So while, yes, the gang is what forces it, like the family, that's a father, a mother, or someone who says, I love you, who gives them nurturing.
And sometimes they enter for protection.
Because but you know,
even if they're getting that love from the family members,
yeah.
Because you have a lot of people from those socioeconomic status, they get love from those family members. But what happens is when they leave the household and they go out into the world and their family can't protect them, and so they would want to align themselves with certain groups that can offer a level of protection.
Yeah, but you know, it's a mixture. Yeah, but remember, Carlos was really focused on that void, where there's a void.
And I'm not denying that.
Yeah, because I think even when you protection, because you know what, I won't get in that. It's far too complicated for me to voice an opinion on. But this is why you have these societal separations, you know. People just stay away.
I just can't.
Because you can't, because it's almost not solvable. I mean, and I know the noble thing to do is to say,
we can fix it.
We can fix it, or what we need to do, and you know, but you know, look, let me go on the hope side. If you do some stuff, maybe it's a matter of how much you can rescue. How many, I should say. How many folks you can rescue. You know what I'm saying?
You know, I wonder when someone snaps, and I'll use that word, snaps, and does something, you know, murders someone, you know, whatever. Let me just focus on the murder aspect. Yeah. In the heat of the moment, not something that's planned, but, you know, in the heat of the moment they do that. When they come down from that angle, what that feels like, you know, when reality starts to set in, is there an immediate regret? Like, I really question that, because I can't. There's an old reggae song that say, them one take life and them can't blow breath. That's like one of those things you just can't. You cannot bring somebody back when they are gone.
I've seen people who have been in those situations, right? And you know, that's where that issue of remorse comes in. And when you look at people, and I don't know folks, but when you look at people who have just been engaged in that type of behavior, their attitude doesn't generally seem to be one of remorse. Their attitude is he had it coming to him. You know what I'm saying? You know, because, you know, remorse, everyone can go, oh man, you know, gee whiz, you know, you could see that that's something that he regrets doing, or, you know, whatever, you know. But when you like, yeah, well, he stepped to me.
But even if you have that,
he stepped to me.
Even if you have that thought process that he had it coming to him, when you standing in front of a court or being bused to Fox Hill, even if you don't regret killing that person, you regret what your life has become or is about to become. I would imagine, especially if you're not accustomed to that system. This is all going to be very few people who are not.
Well, yeah, but except there are not very few who are in that who are not accustomed to it, because it may not start off with murder, but they might be in the system, and you know, for some other thing, right? And when their peers, it's man.
That's to be respected.
It's man.
Being in a how many people we had on the show talk about the conditions at Fox Hill Prison?
But Danny, These man.
Okay.
You see?
I enjoy. I enjoy a fresh surrounding.
He stepped to me. How you want me to look?
Wow. I want you to look free and be free.
What kind of respect you think I get if he stepped to me and I retaliate?
Mm-hmm.
I always like when they put in that big word. But anyway, it's a scary thing.
I am so sorry to the Perry's family.
I used to be very angry and very, labeling and all that. But now I understand. It's circumstance, it's situation, and you have to be grateful for when you and your loved ones don't find yourself in situations, and hope that things that you can do, maybe no matter how little it is, that maybe one or two you can put in another situation.
Let me say this. I don't rejoice in this situation either way. Like, obviously, I'm so disgusted that this young man lost his life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy that police have in custody the alleged perpetrator, right?
Needs to be taken away. Yeah.
But it doesn't do my heart any good to know that this young man who's 16 his life is about to change drastically. It doesn't. I wish that scenario had not even played out, because you're going to have one in the grave and one in prison.
Well, again, circumstances, like someone said, life and politics and things are not about friends and foes. It's about situations. All you can do is react to what happened. I mean, we would love to be able to wave a magic wand and either reverse it or not allow anything to happen again. But hey, anyway. Our guest this afternoon is going to be Mr. Zhivago Lang, who is the chief negotiator for WTO. He's also at UB. He's going to tell me what he is, because I forgot down at UB. They have a public affairs or a public policy division down there.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that.
What's that? The no drinks, no phones, no driving. Yeah, we talk about that. We got some time left.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time coming. Right? It's been a long time coming. No. I mean, I'm going to be optimistic in this respect. I remember not too long ago, Bahamians, I don't understand why we're so opposed to the seatbelt law. I remember how long that took to get get that enacted and actually have people start abiding by the rules. But I when I'm driving along, I notice so many faces down in those phones, and I'm like, they're going to just kill somebody one of these days.
Especially the ones who are driving slow.
No, I don't.
Because they're the ones who, when you see a person, but they're driving slow and wandering off into another island.
The one speeding and they doing that.
That's scary. If we can, as a country,
scary.
It used to bother me, Ken, that these little tiny things we don't adopt, which you could do in the split of an eye. Look. That these laws were put into place. Most of us hardly knew they were coming, right? And bam. Now the question is, will we get some good revenue from the police force if we pull the people over for doing it? Will we make sure that people aren't using their phones while they're driving?
Okay, I need to go read this up. So using the phones, so that doesn't mean if it's in a holster. That just means
like
having
Bluetooth.
having it to your head.
Or reading it.
I want to make sure
or going like this. See, or like this.
Yeah, obviously you can't be texting all that stuff.
But that's why they have Bluetooth. That's why nowadays they have Bluetooth. You could.
I put my stuff in a little holster and I just look like I'm talking to myself.
But you can't dial it. You got to say dial so and so.
No, it's on my. I call who I have to call as I'm stationary, and then that's a wrap. Now I'll answer.
Now I'm going to be a senior man and ask a question that the millennial, you ain't a millennial, but whatever you is, I don't know what generation you is, and Ken will need to answer for me. And I'm guilty, by the way. I'm not excluding myself. NASA is 21/7, right?
That's what they tell me.
That's what they tell you? Did you not get the measuring stick and measure? Okay, well, you got to go where they tell you then.
Yeah.
And,
you measure?
Huh?
You measured it?
No.
Okay,
no,
so you go.
No. I get by what you say. So, most times, you might be on the road 10, 15 minutes. How critical is it to read that WhatsApp? How critical is it?
It's critical, man.
It's critical.
Yeah.
How critical is it to make that call?
What if you have somebody in the critical care?
Because before, when you didn't have cell phone, how did you manage?
Did
you come out? If you had to pay phone, you wasn't driving up and grabbing the phone. Okay, you had to stop the park to pay phone. Okay, I find myself now being very conscious. What I do, if I feel that much of an urge, I pull it aside. I'm not talking about calls, but like especially the messaging is the thing.
I'll pull over the text for sure.
See, the phone call is one thing, because the danger there is the dialing, right? And you can do that now verbally, right? But the actual engaging in the car, and everyone have it. You drive next to someone, everyone got this in their hand.
As you're in your car right now, look around at everybody. Just look at them. I'm telling you.
You have it. Who are you talking to? You got it. I'm talking to you. Okay.
They know they got it for real.
People, the person we just say, look right.
Yeah, we see
They
you.
Looking around and I pointing to you. See? Can they see me pointing to them in the mic?
We see you.
In the blue car. Can they see me pointing to them in the mic?
I see you in the blue car.
In the person who I say, look round to. You. Yeah, you. You have it in your hand now.
Oh, you're so silly. It's true, though.
Boy, I tell you, what a world we live in. Anyway, we're going to take a break. We'll do the news, While you.
In the blue car.
Yeah, the blue and that yellow one, You see that yellow one? That's a cube? You see the cube?
Well, first of all, you probably hit the nail on the head because there's a million cubes. And the beige cube.
How many cubes can you fit into a garage? Anyway, I mean, it's crazy. What are those little? They're like Clouseau cars. Remember Inspector Clouseau?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good voice.
But I mean, if you don't put that phone down, I send the police to get you. You 8394. Yeah. Later. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields, along with the lady who makes the waffles, Rogan Smith. And Ken, huh?
What you make?
I make the chicken. And what?
You eat the chicken.
I eat the chicken too, and the waffles. And I'm not going to take that to a logical step. So okay, so you got Ken Williams, and our special guest this afternoon is the Honorable. It's the thing that you carry for the rest of your life once you've been in that sphere. The Honorable Zhivago Lang, who is now. First of all, tell me. Oh Lord, what's that? That's me. Oh, tell me, where are you at the UB?
I'm the Executive Director and Senior Policy Fellow at the Government and Public Policy Institute at the University of the Bahamas.
Now, you can't write that out to people, though.
No,
you can't sign that.
I just tell them I just lead the GPPI.
Okay, all right.
I
just wait there. But he's also the lead. We're going to get into it, but he's also the lead negotiator, the head negotiator for our WTO ascension or lack thereof, accession. And let me ask, and so Rogan wants to talk to him about some specific things, because one of the things we do, we don't try to have some kind of formatted strict
thing. We got into the WTO stuff.
But you were offering comment on what we were offering comment on, which was the bullying and the stabbing and all that. And so
so you said you were listening to us as we were chatting about the genesis of a lot of this stuff and talking about households and the way people are raised, and you wanted to weigh in on that.
Well, I have worked with young people in the Bahamas for 31 years. Some people don't know that I started my whole sojourn in community service, just working with young men and young women in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And so over the years, I have had to grapple with all the many, many things that they end up doing, good and bad.
Yes.
And to listen to all, or to think about, to research all of the things, all of the reasons why they come to do what they do. And I concede that young people can be influenced by their parenting, they can be influenced by their communities, they can be influenced by peer pressure, they can be influenced by a host of things, positively and negatively. But what cannot be denied is this one central reality, is that every young man and young woman, every old man and every old woman ultimately is making a choice.
Absolutely.
Okay? An influence is a pressing in a direction. But a press in a direction doesn't force an action. It doesn't force a decision. A choice is made. And sometimes it isn't about any influence. And so I use as an example for people who subscribe to it. I don't know. You could be a Buddhist. You could be a Muslim. You could just be a bee. All I'm saying is, if you subscribe to the notion of the Judeo-Christian belief and the Bible as a historic record of that belief, Well, here's a Bible that says God put these two wonderful people in the Garden of Eden. They had children, so now they're two-parent household. So they ain't a single parent household.
Right.
Then they have two children, fairly nice young men. They grow up and they both have jobs, so they ain't a joblessness situation. Okay, they're educated because they know their stuff, the stuff they were doing. They have a fairly good relationship with God because He apparently visits them in the garden and talks to their mommy and their daddy, right? So it can't. So the excuse of being apart from God can't be the excuse.
Right.
But in all of this now, a brother kills another brother. Okay, and guess what? The murder rate in that society at the time was 25%.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is
family.
On that. This is a family murder. This wasn't strangers.
No.
This wasn't my boy take my drugs and therefore boom bam shakala. He get jealous and kill the fella. So what's the excuse? What's the reason? So sometimes we are looking for reasons when we should just be examining choice.
Yeah.
I have to be the advocate, of course, because some would say the devil made him do it. But that's another story.
But let's take that. Let's take the devil made me do it, because you're right, because religion tends to bring that up too. But in that case, say God, who came to judge the situation, never invoked the devil. He invoked the devil when the woman eat the fruit, but he didn't invoke the devil. He said you had it in your heart to do good, but you
chose to do that.
Kill your
this
brother.
is what I think. This is what I think about that.
I agree with
People know right and wrong. Yeah. You don't need to be any kind of the ists. Yeah. Okay? And the reason why you know right and wrong is because you know innately what you don't want anyone to do to you. Right? You don't want someone to spit on you. So you know it's probably wrong. You don't even mean in the faith sense, but just in the living harmoniously sense, that you don't want someone to spit on you. Okay, so that's because that's going to evoke a reaction that's not good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
why
at
then?
At a base level, yeah.
At a base level.
People know.
So
right
why people know right and wrong? So then, to your point, you are then making a choice to do the wrong thing.
But here's where it gets tricky for us, though. And see, my brother, I see people could talk about religion, whatever they want, right? But this much is true. It takes a autism. Something ought to be the case to establish a morality in my heart separate and apart from my own judgment about self-preservation. So I ought to treat you a certain way. Why? Why? The ought has to have a superior reference. Whatever you want to call a reference. Call it sun, moon, star. Yeah. For me to get an ought, O-U-G-H-T, I have to appeal to something higher than myself. Even if that something is a societal standard.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Even if it's that.
Yeah.
And so
that's why I brought in the issue of the harmony of a society, right? Yeah. Whichever that is based on.
Yeah.
It can be based on. It can be based on whatever it is.
You personally.
Right. But so then these young people. But Zhivago, when I that's why I think it's difficult for us to solve. And maybe impossible for us to solve, because you can't solve personal choice.
But we've solved it. We've solved a lot of it because of the 20,000 young men of that age. Ain't 100, ain't 200 of them doing that thing. But we discount the many of them who are not. So if by any other grade, we'd say, oh, that's a good grade you're getting. But all of a sudden we take on the mantle
that's a mutation.
All of this is the
norm.
Reflection of us, and it's untrue.
No, that's the point I always make, even in the recent things that we were dealing with, right? You take something that is an exception
and make it the rule.
Yeah. And then you blast everyone with it.
It's not the rule.
Okay, so.
But I accept this point too. Even before when we were on the break, was saying we have this tendency to blame everybody else other than the person who has done.
And it's part of moral development that the burden of choice has to be put on the individual.
Precisely.
You don't get it otherwise. If I can give you excuses, if I can blame it away, then why do you hold me accountable?
Well, we determine as a society when you are able to make that choice, right? Like when you're 2 years old and you pick up a gun and you don't know it's a gun and you pull the trigger because daddy left the gun there, then actually daddy's responsible now.
Or we can make allowances for influence. So when I go and judge your case, I can make allowances for the poor parenting. But I am not dismissing your choice in the matter.
You did it, yeah.
Right.
Anyway,
it's a thing. But now let's talk about a couple of things. And I kind of guess I want to talk about things generally, but going back to this thing with the WTO, which seems to have quieted down a lot. Here's the thing that I don't get, and you were on the show a couple of months ago, and of course you've been on a road show for many, many months. I call it a road show. And essentially, all things have explanations. Now, whether people wish to accept that is the correct explanation or not, that's another thing. But there is only one explanation. Now, what blows me away is this. There are two sectors. There's a sector that has a vested interest because of a very real fear, because no matter what you do, you're not going to get to 100% appeasement. And secondly, there are people, a greater proportion of people, who actually will benefit from this. And it seems that those are the folks who are most vocal. You see, you can almost, and I don't want to say this word, dismiss the folks who have a vested serious interest. But the folks who don't, why do they not see, with all the information given out there, that actually it is the consumer, it is the purchaser who benefits from this the most?
Because fear is a very powerful influence in all our lives. Self-preservation is the primary aim of every man. So it is never in my interest to feel as if a thing will undo me, a thing will diminish me, a thing will make me worse off, and so forth. So whenever fear is invoked, it can hijack intelligence even. And so you could only hope that information relieves people of fear. So let me help people with the fear. The fear for both the vested interest and for the persons who could be benefited is based on this notion of opening up the country for people to come in and compete with us. That's the basic fear. You are going to sell the country out, meaning Shivago is going to open the country up so that the foreigner is going to come in, and the foreigner is so much better than me, so much greater than me, has so many more advantages than me, they will undo us. Now, so let's bell that cat for a minute. First of all, there are only 15 areas of the Bahamian economy reserved for Bahamians. 15 areas. The government of the Bahamas for decades have said foreign participation in this area is not allowed. Wholesale, retail, trade, construction, except for specialty construction, engineering services, legal services, ground transportation, inter-island freight, import, export agencies, not medical, and so forth and so forth. So those areas, right, basically, 15 of them.
Yeah.
So the fear is, you are going to join the WTO, open up those areas, people are going to come in and compete with us. Now, I'm sitting here by a table. Let's call this table a negotiating table. Everything on top of the table is what's being negotiated. I'm holding a newspaper. This newspaper has on it all the things that are reserved for Bahamians. All 15.
That off the table?
Here is where they are in the negotiations. Under the table.
Just in case you couldn't see that, it's under the table. He threw it under the table.
The table.
Yeah, he threw it under the table.
Let me explain it in Spanish, French, Japanese, and English. Everything reserved for Bahamians is under the table, meaning it's not even open for discussion. Right. We didn't even offer it for discussion. Yeah. We didn't say to anybody we're going to even do that. And so, now, does that stop a person, a country that we're negotiating with from saying, Mr. Lang, I noticed you put all them stuff under the table. Why don't you come, let's talk about opening them up? They can ask.
Yeah.
They can ask. Right. And I can say, no, because I didn't want to. And they can ask and insist. Well, they'll say, I won't vote for you if you don't open it up. And I can say, well,
don't vote for me then.
I'm leaving. I don't open up. Now, but I can say to you, if we are wise and understand how it works, we might say to them, well, let's think about this. There are 4 ways those areas can be serviced. 4 ways. One is, I can buy those services over the internet, or they can buy it from me over the internet. True or not true? Can you stop anyone from trading over the internet?
No, sir.
Anyone.
Every day.
If you're, yes, sir.
I mean, you're doing it, me doing it, right? Exactly.
Okay,
So
we'll cut
if
off the
somebody
internet.
says to me, Shivago, that's called mode 1. Why don't you open up that area? Well, if I said yes, what'd I do? What did I just do if I said yes? Did I change something in the
No.
Bahamas?
We were able to
And
do
how
it anyway.
stupid would I look to say, no, I'm going to keep that closed? Really do it? Really?
Well,
That's what you're going to say?
let me because they're going to be people. Let me play this right. So let's take an example. Let's retail. Is it a
Yeah,
good example?
retail,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Retail
so
meaning
retail is where people buy stuff over
from
the internet.
abroad.
Yeah,
I
from
am
abroad.
using
Or they go to
Amazon.
Miami and buy it.
No.
Yeah.
Retail online,
Yeah.
mode 1. We're talking about mode 1 now.
Right.
Retail online is I just bought a shirt from somewhere through Amazon.
Yeah.
Right. But let me put the but in. There's going to be some trigger in there that says while that is the case, there are retailers who still survive because based on human nature and impulsive buying, et cetera, there's always going to be a percentage of people who go into a store.
Yes, but right now, today, I cannot stop a man in his home from buying something over the internet, which he does now, and I still have stores in the Bahamas selling stuff.
Yeah, but isn't he afraid now, not about that, but about, okay, and let me just throw it at you. I got to push you on this one. So right now we have things that I can buy on the internet. Like, for instance, I can buy tools. I can buy tools on the internet.
Yeah.
But you know where I can buy tools? If Home Depot come to Nassau,
No, but
I can buy some good tools.
But I want you to follow me first.
I can buy some good tools there.
But I want you to follow me first. I said there are 4 ways you can trade the WTO identifies. Well, let's take them one at a time. First one is buying online. Is there anyone who can stop
No.
a person from buying online?
No.
So if they say to me, can you open up that area? What am I going to sound like when I say no?
have to buy
Yeah,
online.
they said, yeah, the
But
buy
it already
online.
open. Me need to discuss that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I have my 15 areas under the table. They asked me to pull it out. I said, bro, I could take line number 1. I could give you that.
Right.
Because you ain't giving nothing.
Because I ain't giving nothing away.
Precisely.
Right.
Second mode
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
the second way I can trade a service is, I go to the United States and buy medical services from Cleveland Clinic. Cleveland Clinic comes to Freeport, Grand Bahama to buy cancer drugs on experiment in Freeport. Americans do that. Is there anyone interested in stopping that?
No, but
No.
you're saying that's one of the 15? Why is that
No,
one of the
hold
15?
on, no. Follow me. Okay. I think I
wanna
better.
follow.
Let me
Because you know,
better.
I dumb. I don't want.
No. Follow me. Yes, the thing. What I'm saying is, for every single area under the table, ground transportation, wholesale retail trade, and stuff, you can purchase those services in 4 ways in trade, 4 different ways. They call mode 1 or online trading. Mode 2, cross-border, where I go to buy, they come to buy. Mode 3, I can talk about that in a minute. And then there's a mode 4. So what I'm doing is breaking down each mode of each one of them to show you how I can discuss opening up a portion of that without harming the
In
Bahamas.
mode 1. You could be open in mode 1.
I could be open in mode 1.
Be in the mode 1.
And mode 2 is what you do now every day when you fly away to buy, when they fly here to buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm asking, do
And
you
go to
want to stop
Richard's.
that?
Richard's department store.
Is anybody want to stop that?
We got to take a break, and then we go to mode 3 and 4.
And then we go to mode 3 and 4.
Just like
Yeah, we
That's
got to
like
break it
that.
right now. You know how I go. I'm going to break it down.
Yeah.
do it just like
We'll be right
Yeah,
back. Should be no days. Okay. Anyway, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here. See, this is why, by the way, Honorable Lang, Shivago Lang, okay, why I don't do, and I'm not going to tell people why I'm saying this, I'm just going to throw it out there, why Ruggin Smith and I do not do a call-in show, because you have to be able to get the information out without interruption from Mode 9. See, once Mode 9 contaminate, you can't get back to Mode 4.
This Lang show?
Yes.
This Lang show? Yeah. What I want to say, Lang, is...
Yeah. Listen, ain't no one in the mode, you know. Anyway, I had a bad mode now.
So we
So
were
we had
talking about
mode 1 and
these
mode
various
2.
ways
Yeah.
of being able to buy a service you want.
course.
So we talked about online. So we agreed you can't stop that.
No.
We talked about going away
That's the internet.
by boat, by plane.
You can go by boat.
You could go by boat.
Okay.
You go by wheelchair.
What the song
however
is.
you can get
I come
there.
by boat. I come by plane.
I come
So
by
anything in the song.
wheelchair. Any way you can get to the service, you could buy it. Any way they can get to you, you buy it. Nobody interested in stopping that. Because if I stop that, you can't go to Walmart.
Heights.
And they can't come
Avis.
to Exactly.
Dollar Red Car.
Anyway,
you get there.
however you could get there. Mode 2. That's way 2. So that way,
what about mode 3?
we ain't stopping that one.
Mode 4,
let me get the mode 3 second, because that's the ticklish one.
Okay.
So that's the ticklish. I can tell you, I can be real with you. It's a ticklish one. So mode 4 though, there's a fourth way.
Yeah.
The fourth way I can get a service is, I'm an engineer in the Bahamas.
Right.
I am interested in saying to an American that if ever you need engineering services in the Bahamas, I want you to come check me out. But they over there. So what I would do is apply to America to be able to go and market my services in America for a period of time.
Right.
Well, America will give you 90 days to do that.
Right.
Or someone in America say, I like the way this boy do engineering. He's a kind of so forth.
Yeah,
and I sign a contract with them because they think I could do it a way that nobody else could do it. Because maybe it has to do with a choral kind of construction. I don't know.
Construction.
So we agree a contract. They then apply for me to come and do work there.
Right.
And so the Americans say you have up to 90 days, and if you need an extension, you can extend.
Right.
We do that now today in the reverse.
Right.
But the way we do it is we say I give you 15 days maximum.
That's outside the work permit scenario.
That's outside the work permit. This is a traveling temporary service kind of thing.
Okay.
So we say 15 days. What other countries in the WTO do typically is 90 days. So they may say to me, like, you can't be stopped being stingy. You think you can't give us 30, 45? So I could negotiate that, and I ain't hurting nobody. That is not.
Take modes 1, 2, and 4 off the table.
Off the table. Okay, so I can take them from under the table. Now mode 3. This 3-way. This is the one.
This the deep.
This the 3-way.
Yeah.
This the one
don't say
where
3-way. They don't like to hear that.
This
Go 3.
This the mode 3.
Okay.
This the way where a foreign company comes and sets up a physical presence in those 15 areas in the Bahamas. So they come to set up a engineering firm. They come to set up a law firm. They come to set up a whole. This is where Walmart comes in.
Home Depot.
They come to set up a Home Depot.
Yeah.
Okay. Now. We say no. Now let me explain something to you. I'm the chief negotiator. There is no chance Chivago Line is going to say to them, yes, you could do that.
So if we see that, we know you were killed.
I was.
Wait a minute. I'll let you finish. But no, let me just interject here. I remember the last time you were here, you said that we had already signed on to certain agreements which would have allowed a Walmart to come here.
No.
You didn't say that the last time.
Walmart.
I'm pretty sure.
No. That was never on the table.
No.
I can say that because I've been in other environments.
No. We signed on to an economic partnership agreement with the Europeans. That's it.
Yeah.
And Europe don't have Walmart. Never.
Yeah.
Never. So that's the big boogeyman.
Yeah.
Walmart come here to compete with me.
And then you kill
Home
my
Depot
sponsors.
come to see.
Exactly.
So there's no possible chance. There's no possible chance that can happen. They asked me, Lang, open up mode 3 so we could come set up construction company in your business. I can say to them. This is what I can say to them in Geneva. I say, listen to me. If I do that, please find me an apartment to live in Geneva because I can't go back to the Bahamas.
I can't get a ticket.
Okay? I live in the Bahamas, man. I can't be that naive and stupid.
Yeah. The people in Geneva, our representatives in Geneva, will come to you and revoke your passport.
They'd be like, you are, what is wrong with you? Yeah. So, anyways, so first of all, even if I did that, it has to come back to the government to approve, and they'd be like, who's Chivago Line?
Well, no longer the chief negotiator. I know that much.
He's no longer Bahamian.
And he's no longer the man in charge of the GPPI.
But in talking to the sectors, right, here is what in mode 3 we have been able to think through. Okay. Remember now, it's still under the table. Right. But let's suppose we decided, you know what, let's try and wake here so we can get in.
Right.
Let's suppose. Here's a thought. Okay, let me open up on one of those areas, but let me do it as a franchise. has to be owned by a Bahamian.
Right, we have that now.
Yeah,
You have it now.
Why are you talking about things we have now? We ain't talking about things,
but we don't even allow
Don't you
this.
understand this is a part of the I'm giving an act here.
Yeah. So, but in these areas, we just play like we don't do that.
Yeah. Oh, we
Except,
don't do that.
that's what we play like because
How we get our sponsors, Kentucky and them.
Exactly. So we have a foreign franchise with a physical presence in the Bahamas, but only owned by a Bahamian.
In fact, let me tell you, as a person who is involved in the retail sector, you have stores like Versace, Michael Kors, all of those luxury items that wanted to come to the Bahamas because they don't do franchises in other countries, but that was the insistence here. So all those stores are owned by local folks who have a franchise.
Exactly. And they are in retail, wholesale and retail trade.
Right.
They are in retail trade.
Yeah.
So we already have an example of it, but here's why we continue to say we don't do it. Because what I don't have is perfect cuts out of the U.S., a franchise set up in the Bahamas, owned by a Bahamian.
Out of Baba.
Yeah, no,
I don't know
of the
about
United
that.
States.
What's
Perfect
that?
cuts of
Yeah,
the
that's a
United
Baba,
States.
right?
Yeah, it's a Baba.
Yeah, I don't know
franchise.
about Babas.
But think about this now. The Baba say, Jesus, you can let a foreign Baba come in here. No, I ain't letting a foreign Baba in here. I'm letting a franchise well known in the United States come in here, owned by a Bahamian, so that not American tourists know. You want your hair cut? Because I have white hair and white people here cut a certain kind of way. I get the perfect cuts because I know them in the States.
Yeah.
But not a lot of people will be able to afford to franchise, though.
Exactly.
Well, but then you won't have perfect
matter,
cuts.
So it kills those individuals who can't.
the foreigner can't come if he can't do it through a franchise. So if you can't afford it, it ain't gonna happen.
It ain't gonna be no perfect cuts.
Okay.
It ain't gonna happen.
It's just cuts.
Because the only way to come in is you have to be owned by a Bahamian.
Okay.
So unless a Bahamian could have afforded a McDonald's franchise, a Kentucky franchise,
It's just dollars.
or the Dairy Queen franchise,
Just Queen.
it would never have happened.
Okay.
But don't say that though, because maybe Ed Fields might decide I want to get in the haircut business, and maybe he can afford the franchise.
Yeah.
Why not? And
Look
remember
here, he
now,
even got no hair and he got
Why
perfect
are you
cuts.
pushing for this?
Yeah, and he even got no cuts.
remember now, perfect cuts, or say a cut in the States that white people are accustomed to using for their kind of haircuts will be something that a tourist then could say,
Or white Bahamians.
or white Bahamian, I'm going to get my haircut there. Now, where's Shivago going to go? My barber is Anton. You think I get a perfect
Anton
cut?
cuts. Anton cuts.
I'm not doing it.
You're going to Anton
I
cuts.
get Anton, because Anton know how to fade.
Yeah.
But perfect cut, follow these scissors and that clip. What do you can do for me? And if people don't believe
You get the
that, I
layers.
spent 3 months
You
of
get
my
the
life.
layers.
I spent 3 months of my life in Japan.
Yeah.
And in Japan, I walked
cut
around
with
for
chopsticks.
5 days looking for a barber.
Yeah, well, you should just wait till
And
you
when
come
I
home.
found one barber,
Yeah.
well, he do a clip,
The sushi cut.
and anyway, I just had to keep
Yeah.
pretending
You do
that
like
it
a
was
California
okay.
roll. You do a California roll.
So my only point here is that if push came to shove, it is conceivable to take the thing from under
But
the table,
that's already been done. We don't need
make
to talk
some
about that.
adjustments that we are already accustomed
we got,
to, and still have not changed
what
much
the
in the
place called?
Bahamas,
Midas Muffler,
except to
all that.
create opportunities for Bahamians
Exactly.
to do new joint venturing, do new franchising in ways that they could not have done
To
before.
expand their market.
Okay, with that being explained the way you explained it, what still is the issue?
It's just fair.
Are they-
And people putting a monkey wrench.
No,
But
what
let
are
me
they
ask
saying
you.
to you? I mean,
No,
when you explain that.
No, but I'm saying, well,
But there
when
is
I
a sector you haven't
when I
talked about.
explain that, those persons who hear it, many of them say, Shivago, what you told us, what you shared with us, I don't know what the issue is, but there are still people, they are against the WTO.
But there are sectors, Shivago Lang, that we have to talk about.
Well, those are the
Because I don't know if they're in that table. I want to talk to you about
No,
this.
there's all the
let's
sectors,
talk about, well, if I'm wrong, you correct me,
Yeah.
but let's talk about these sectors. Let's talk about manufacturing, agricultural.
Manufacturing has never been reserved for Bahamians.
Okay, well, let's just talk about. I'm rate my ignorance.
I'm going to tell you.
So right now, let's
on the
suppose.
reserve for Bahamians.
But
the agriculture sector, this is their concern. The manufacturing sector, and the agriculture sector, their concern is different than a
protectionism.
Their concern is different. Their concern is not you keep people from setting up in here against me. Their concern is we compete now on the fact that you have high duties on the products you bring in.
Prohibitive duties.
And so we don't want you to lower those duties and cause us to face more competitive pricing pressure. And I am saying to
What's the situation
them,
on that?
the situation on that is we kept the duties in most instances as high or higher.
They're not in any of those modes. This is a separate thing.
That modes don't do.
Apply
you don't
to
do
them.
modes with products.
Okay.
Manufacturing is about products. The modes are about services.
So you got to break it down.
So manufacturing is about products. The only thing that is an issue in products is your rate of duty.
Right.
And so there are
'Cause they want to be
6,000
made
items.
competitive.
There's 6,000 items we have duties on.
Right. How much?
6,000 plus
Okay,
items
okay.
we have duties on. We, on average, we are bringing down those duties from 36% to 15%. When the Bahamian get upset, tell me. The Bahamians who's be ducking paying duty. When you get mad because the duty go down from 36%.
Well, for instance, no
to
duty on
50%.
clothing. We don't
No,
make clothing, so no one's panicked about that.
Yeah.
But if you have a let's use chicken. I want to use chicken. Okay. So we have or have had chicken farms, right?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I see a thing in the thing yesterday about a company, Bahamas Striping, opening up some chicken farms in North Angeles.
I was one of them.
You had a chicken farm?
I had a chicken farm. I have a.
I talking about no coop, You had a farm?
Listen to me. I have a suspended chicken farm operation seeking to be opened.
Okay.
Because Minas' farm in Grand Bahama was leased by us. My partners and the Harmony Poultry Producers.
All right, so let's talk about chicken.
But let's talk about chicken
Yeah,
and
so chicken.
any agriculture product.
So
like that.
right now, you could bring into Tyson for one price, right? But but you have a duty on that.
Yes.
Okay? And let's say that duty is 80%. I don't know what it is, but let's say it's 80%. The chickens that are grown here, grown in the Bahamas, right? By the way, we must get the small chickens from somewhere. I don't know if they breed, but the grown chickens are grown here. And that is at one price. So they are price competitive with Tyson, right? They are being probably cheaper or competitive. Let's just say competitive with Tyson.
Well, they're not competitive. But what happens is the government has a local buy policy where it says to the community, if you want to purchase chicken from abroad, you have to show me that you are purchase at least 30% of your chicken from home.
Okay, yeah.
So that's a buy local policy. But that's in breach of a WTO rule for sure.
Okay. But let me just say this. On the shelf, right? If Tyson chicken was given zero duty, and let's go worst case scenario, zero duty. Tyson chicken, because of the scale that Tyson chicken is dealing with in the United States.
It's already cheaper. Enormously more cheaper.
Right? Than the chicken who is grown here. That's not even exportable, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, for all kinds of reasons. And so now that chicken farmer is going to say, I am at an unfair advantage. Of course, the world is saying, no, I'm at an unfair advantage because you're putting a prohibitive tariff on me.
Right.
How do we deal with that?
You're absolutely right. Let me talk to you about how
we can take a break.
Okay, let's take a break.
That way you can catch yourself.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
There ain't no moats. We'll be right back. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here along with Shivago Lang, Honorable Shivago Lang, who is the chief negotiator for WTO. And listen, first of all, it's a very complicated thing, but it becomes more complicated when people who, and I don't fault the people who are informed and who have a vested interest in what might be an impact on them and who have valid fears that need to be worked out. That's what the negotiation is about. What I have a problem with, Mr. Lang, is people who simply are uninformed and just spouting things and creating fear to the people who shouldn't even be fearful. But that's another story. I don't know if I summarize that in the right way. Now, we talked about the modes. Now, the modes only have to do with services.
We were talking about your chicken.
So now we move to products.
Products, yeah.
Okay?
Tangible things.
And you have water.
Water.
Okay.
You got bread.
You have
chicken,
beers. I mean,
beers,
spirits or whatever.
Cars. Yeah.
Well, cars.
They're all products. No, what I'm saying, products
are
things.
But I'm thinking about cars products that we produce here.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have tissue.
Right. So people are afraid, and almost all of those products have what we would call prohibitive tariffs on them. Correct?
Yes, they have higher than usual custom duties attached to them to keep the import price higher than it would ordinarily be. Yeah.
And that is one of the big bugaboos of the WTO.
Yeah, for people.
Tell me how we deal with
that
and appease both entities, both the local producer and the WTO.
There's a couple of ways. The first way is, remember, what typically would happen is you're trying to get to an average rate. Now, what is an average? An average is add all the numbers together, divide by the number of numbers.
Including the ones that are at zero.
Yeah, excluding the ones that are zero. So let's say
including.
Yeah. So let's say my average tariff right now is 35, and I'm trying to get it down to 15. Right. Well, I could keep for water 100%. I could take an area where I don't produce anything that I have been putting a 45% on and throw that down to zero, because the net, the revenue from the government for that was maybe $200,000 in the whole year. But that rate is keeping my rate up. Right. So we call them peaks and valleys. Right. So that essentially all I'm trying to do is for my sensitive areas, keep their tariffs where they are so that those people can compete, and bring down other duties so that on balance I get my average still.
So if you go through the duty, what do they call it, the duty schedule or whatever they call it, and you see these almost absurd products, like they're almost absurd. Let's use an example. Let's say washing machines. I'm just going to use that as an example. We don't make washing machines, but for some reason, you know what we don't make? I'll give you a really classic example. Games. You know the video games or the toys or things, like these things, game arcades. They had duties on them of like at one point of 75%. Well, we don't make those. Yeah. So the only reason that existed was for government revenue.
Right. So what you do is you bring down the duties heavily on areas that aren't sensitive for you. Sensitive in two ways. They're not locally produced, and the government doesn't get substantial revenue from them. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to affect government's revenue too substantially.
But can you just on that particular point, can you increase or make neutral government revenue by the fact that we now have VAT, and you may get more volume sales on that item?
What has happened is the VAT has made this exercise for you more doable because it has already increased government's take from the time it was
even
created.
On that particular item, there's a potential that based on volume. So, for instance, I know someone in the car business. I know someone in the car business.
But government won't think about it that way.
Why wouldn't they think about it that way?
Well, I mean,
I know someone who's in the car business, for instance, right? They told me that when the government reduced the duties on cars below a certain cc, the sales actually go up, because it's more affordable for people to buy a car.
Yeah, but the truth is the government really didn't reduce duties on cars other than hybrids and
anything 1500 cc's and below.
And then and the smaller vehicles,
which most people buy.
On the smaller vehicles, well, you will have a response to that, because lower duties does mean price differential that impacts people.
Right.
But my point is, though, lowering duty for the government reduces government's revenue, even when in a value-added tax scenario, because the value-added tax is calculated on the landed cost. Right. And so any lowering of duty lowers government's revenue in that area. What I'm saying is the way we do this exercise, and it has been done, so this isn't even a guessing exercise for us. You take those items where you have minimal impact by government in terms of revenue, where the duty was high, you lower them. That then lowers your average so that you can maintain the duty high on the areas where you have sensitive products.
Okay, how is that tact panning out at the WTO table?
It's a negotiation. So what happens is, generally speaking, it's not a problem.
Because the water people say they're happy.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, generally,
abroad.
Generally speaking, it's not a problem. But you can have a country that has been exporting something to you, say, like, can you do better than the rate of duty you have? Now, if it gets to a sticky situation, there is a mechanism you can use. So let's say this. Take your chicken example, right? You import today about 40 million pounds of chicken a year. 40 million pounds of chicken a year. How much do you produce a year here? You produce on an annual basis here about 1.5-2 million pounds. So the net is 8 million pounds imported. You produce of the 40 million, at most 2.5 million. Now,
subsidized?
Even if the government subsidized, that's right. Even if the government, if you took your 30% of 40 million, that would give you what, 12 million. So that's what you could produce. Let's say I say the 12 million, but you're producing 2. So you have space for 10 to produce locally.
Right.
You maybe not going to do that in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I might even take it up to 40%. That'll give you 16 million. That'll take you some time. So what I could do is say, listen, here's what I'm going to do, because I know I have to import chicken anyways. I know I have to do it. Let me let you import up to 6 million pounds at a rate of duty lower than, say, let's say 25% or 20%. That's low for you. That's low. That's lower than it used to be. But when you hit 6 million, everything over that is 120%. Now the local producer, it's steep, but the local producer now has the whole 30-something million market at that rate. He's competing a big time, the way you say.
But can you? I was thinking the other way, right? Is okay. To your point, and I don't want to get. I'm not a math guy, but let's look at it this way. You said, which I wasn't aware of, that we are importing 40 million pounds of chicken. Okay.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Well, he have the chicken license.
Yeah.
So I gotta go. See, you have the PR license. I gotta go. What you tell me.
Yeah.
Now, if and then local producers are producing 1 million.
2.5 at most.
Okay, 2.5 million. Okay. So let's just say that the chicken. Let's just go to zero for a second. Let's say you took the chicken and put it at zero, right? And they brought in this $40 million worth of chicken, still maintaining the government's this what do you call it? Must buy thing, right? But at the end of the day, the buyer who's buying the chicken only cares about the cost, right? That's what they care about, the cost, right? Yeah. So how do you then subsidize, because that's not illegal.
But you can't. The
local producer,
it is illegal in the WTO to subsidize.
Yeah. Well, the whole United States subsidize.
They listen.
They subsidize all the farmers in the thing.
My brother, it's different kinds of ways to assist your producers. But it ain't subsidy.
Okay, so it's a sneak away.
No, well, I'm not.
The whole trade thing in China is about the subsidies and
this is very important. This is very important. I don't want to confuse people on this score. Lowering chicken price to 0%
is not going to happen.
Will super kill any local production. Okay. Here's why. Chicken is very price sensitive. Okay. Unless you sell Bahamians rotten chicken from abroad, they typically don't care once the chicken look okay and the price is right.
You are right.
Okay, so they can dump.
So you cannot lower chicken duty so low that the strain of that price on the local producer will cause people to choose away from him. Even with your government's buy local policy. Okay. Let me tell you what the local buyers do, importers do to get around that. Because they are so price sensitive. Remember, let me tell you something. Chicken is like.
When you say price sensitive, listen to me. It needs to be so high they can go.
No. I'm saying it's so price sensitive that Bahamians buy up a chicken. Chicken is their staple meat, and chicken is like drug money for these importers. Because let me tell you something. You could get a chicken for 80 cents a pound, and they still charging you $2.25 a pound in the store. All that is money for them. Right? So they are trying to buy no expensive chicken. And the local producer has production cost issues.
Right. Because of scale, all that sort of thing.
Because of scale and so forth, electricity costs and the like. Yeah. So he has to charge you a certain price that, generally speaking, he cannot compete with a foreign
the other guy want that margin ain't for him.
He don't want that because when he buys your $1.65 chicken versus 80 cents, you just took a whole 80 cents off his margin.
Yeah.
So what they do is they would buy 10 cases from you, sit it in the warehouse in the heat, and call agriculture and say you sold them bad chicken. That's what they will do because the incentive is so strong for them to not have to buy from you.
It's like a chicken mafia,
and buy this container. Listen to me, my brother.
This is chicken.
My brother.
I don't want this like Chicken Wars. We could do a documentary on this, man.
Listen, any producer could tell you it's a battle. It's a battle. Now, mind you, there are some stores that are very helpful, very willing to supply, to buy local. But they can keep that within limits. They can buy a container from you and buy 15 containers from away.
Right.
They want to.
Yeah, they
keep
that their price, average margin.
They want that price, right? So you have to be very careful. That's why I say the alternative to reducing the duty substantially is to say, let you import, because I know you have to import because I can't produce all of that. Right. At a certain level, at a lower duty, when I get above that, I tax you so that the local industry can do it. Now, here's the beauty of that.
That's a WTO.
It's WTO compliant. Okay. It's called a tariff rate quota. Okay. You can't do a quota because quotas are illegal in the WTO, but a tariff rate quota is regarded really as tariff rate, and the WTO doesn't tell you what rate to have. It doesn't. Yeah. You negotiate rates, but it doesn't tell you what rate to have.
Oy. How far? First of all, before we go, I
just want people to know when I'm sitting down negotiating, I'm not sitting down negotiating because it's a simple matter. I hear all these people talk about all these simple things like they know all this stuff. It is an issue that you have to understand.
Right. And them negotiators abroad, they don't even know you're in the chicken business, so we can keep that hush. now, okay.
Oh, by the way, I don't do chicken negotiations. I don't do chicken discussions. Okay. I exclude myself from those talks.
Yeah. Now, having said all of that, there are two things I want to say. We got 2 minutes. One is this: what is, because you hear all kinds of fictitious stuff. What is the actual deadline or time to join the WTO? And even given that, there's not immediate join. There's there's a phasing in, right?
The deadline is December 31st, 2000 and never.
What?
Okay, well I like that.
What?
All right, well listen, it's been a good show.
Deadline.
It's been a good show.
We'll
have you on and never vary.
Finished, when the negotiations are finished, they are finished. What the government decided was it wanted to catch the next trade ministers meeting. The trade ministers are the ones who have to approve your entry into the WTO. This is the ministers.
But you can't stretch it out forever.
But listen, the ministers of trade are the ministers of all the countries that are members. They have to vote you in once your negotiations are finished. They meet every 2 years. Their last meeting was supposed to have been the end of this year. It was shifted to the next year, June.
So we got 2 more years.
So you were trying to catch the meeting. That's all that was. But your negotiations may not be finished. Yeah. So if you don't catch it, you go to the next time. Okay. And you keep. But there's no deadline. Okay. Nobody's forcing a deadline on you. You were trying to make a
But
meeting.
Are there ramifications for you not negotiating in good faith?
The only ramifications are that you don't get the benefits that you are seeking to get from being a member.
Okay.
It's like saying, I don't have an American Express card, but whatever American Express card can allow you to do, you can't do.
You can't go into the place name, the place name, man. The lounge in the airport. You can't go into the lounge. Admiral Club.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't go to Admiral Club. Well, listen, there's a lot more to talk about, Mr. Lang, and we're going to have you on again. Because, what I'm hoping is that people, through humor, through pushing the envelope, hear the information that they can use to be informed about it. So we'd like to have you come back and we can go beyond the next step about where we are, et cetera, et cetera. But we want to thank you for coming, man.
My pleasure. Thank you. Been a pleasure.
Rogan Smith, bring me some of the waffle. Ken, bring me some of that, whatever that wine's called. Okay. We'll see you next Monday. Bye.